mentioning is that once they integrate within our system, all they have to do is put in the patient's medical record number or chart number, and all of the patient's demographics is pre-populated within this screen, so it's less data entry. And then they're answering the clinical questions, they upload in the files, and then they're just selecting Ask Sammy in step three. So it's literally select the product, answer the questions, send it to the vendor, and then once they actually go through the complete screens, then it will just go directly into their dashboard. And now they're keeping track of every order that they've sent out to Axami or different suppliers and service providers that we work with. So from here, they can actually see status updates as well too. And that's based on once, Dr. Brandy's team review the order, right? And then they're in direct contact with the actual physician team. And I'm just going to stop sharing, right, for a minute. So basically, they find the best supplier, right, in that patient's area. They create the order, they send it directly to them. And then from there, Dr. Brandy's team get an email notification that an order is there waiting for them. And then I'll just pass it on to Dr. Brandy and she'll explain exactly what they do.
Yeah, that's perfect. And so when it comes over to our side, what ends up happening is you automatically have, as a physician, automatically have access to an occupational therapist. And so we've gotten the referral and now we're able to contact the patient. And so you don't have to sift through whether this device is covered by insurance or not, who's going to install it, what kind do they need. We're handling all of that process in order to make sure they get exactly what they need in order to solve the problem. So from all of our DME connected referrals, we actually give that client a call and talk through what the issues are that maybe initiated you putting in that you needed a grab bar, because usually it means something else is going on too. And we try to problem solve through the full picture of the solution and then figure out how that's going to get covered and paid for too. So these products, like I said before, are paid for out of pocket, but there's also programs that you might be able to connect with and tools that can be used in order to pay for some of the equipment. And so we try to stay up to date on those and work together with patients and partners to try to figure out how to get that paid for. So the lead in to AskCM is really just like, if you need something at home, let's talk to them and see what we can work out.
Make sense?
I do appreciate that.
Hmm.
Again, I wanted to, of course, I love these talks, but of course, with the healthcare background, I always like to go into some of the statistics for those who are tuning in so they can get a better understanding of why this is so important that we discuss this today. It's no number one, it's part of that preparation. Dr. Brandy, you mentioned it and you mentioned it very well, that most times people have that misconception thinking they will not they're aging healthy, so they won't need these types of services. And so it's important to talk about planning. And I'm going to go to that question in a second. But I wanted just to highlight some of the things in preparation for this talk or
Hmm.
for this webinar. I noticed that according to AARP, and this is their home and community preference survey, they do this quite often, and these are kind of the last numbers that were done. 77% of adults age 50 and older wish to remain in their homes for long term, and this is of course consistent for over a decade. And then also, while 73 wish to remain in their communities, which is not really the same at their home. It could be just changing facilities from home to an actual assisted living place in the communities. Because of these facts, because of these figures, how can they go about planning for that? Like, for instance, can people outreach to you now in preparation? People do, remember, they do wills, they do all these types of things. Well, how can they do that with you guys now?
Yeah, absolutely. That's the way we set this up, is so that you can have access to information right now, clinically
Okay.
based information as soon as you need it. And
Hmm.
that way you can ask those questions to something or someone who knows a little bit about it in the time that you happen to be talking about it. So if
Okay.
you go to asksammy.com, then you can ask AI, and we've trained it on all those things, and also try to connect it to the resources that you might need in order to access it, like elder law attorneys, or just things to think about in plan in advance. The thing I will also say is the advanced part is so important because you have so many more options when you think about it up front instead of waiting until you actually have a change in your life that forces you to make a change. Then you don't have as many options. And so if you want something to look beautiful and match the decor that's in your home, if you want to make sure you're not running around like a crazy person because somebody's in the hospital and they're not able to talk for their own wishes and you don't know what those are, we should plan that in advance. And there's tools to be able to allow you to do that, and that are free and easily accessible, right? So that you can think about the thing that you don't want, nobody wants to think about. But once you do, you're able to, be less fearful and feel prepared and know that you're doing all the proactive things that you need to in order to make your life the way you want it to be.
Yeah. One of the things that we see when we speak with physicians as well, too, and it is a common thing that they say is basically improving the patient's quality of life.
Yep.
Right. And that's said so many different times. So when we're speaking to our physician medical team partners, not only the physician, but their medical support staff as well, too, and they're asking for a resource, the first thing they say, hey, who can we use that you guys have worked with in the past that's reliable, that's going to contact my patient, right? And it's going to help them with their quality of life. And at DME Connected, that's something that we pride ourselves on by making these connections, right? And as a nationwide platform is good because you may be able to speak to someone from California, that's needs something, even though we're based out here in Georgia. And we're just seeing the interactions that's going on, that this is a nationwide problem, right?
Yep.
And especially here in the US with the aging population growing within the next 10 years, the baby boomers are 65 years old and older. So everyone know about these specs. The physicians are feeling the pinch because they're seeing an influx of patients now that's more elderly, want to take care of themselves and actually want to be at home. Right. So what are the solutions out there? Right. And that's some of the things that we try to just speak to the physicians about, saying that there's resources, there's people out here that's definitely like Aksami, other occupational therapists, but with her all-inclusive system. And that's one of the things why we partnered with her, is that it's not just dropping off the DME equipment and saying goodbye. Right. Is actually following up with this patient and say, OK, you need a grab bar. Let's speak what else is going on within your home. Right. What else can we help you with? And those are just some of the added questions and the added care that I think our senior community needs. My mother myself is turning 68, not that older, but I could already see basically I love my home. I don't want to leave. Everything is here. She's been in there for 20 something years, so even preparing for her to that next stage, now I know that I have the resources, but that's only because I'm here in the industry. How many other people out there don't know about those services, right? And those are the things why we try to have these webinars, just to educate the community, educate the physicians, work with our partners as well too, and let them know that there are resources out there. Just utilize the system and, just work with people like Aksami. I can't ask for anything else, because I've heard the response time. One of the things the physician says, once the order gets directly to your partners, how quickly do they respond? And I can tell you, I've heard nothing but great things about Aksami so far, right? And those are things when I said we've made the right choice to add her to DME Connected, right? So I just want to put that out and say thank you for your service and everything that you do.
Yeah, I appreciate that greatly. And, as a provider myself,
Mhm.
while we're running Aksami now, in the past, I have 17 years of clinical practice, and helping people be able to connect to the right thing for them is challenging, even when it is something that's like a wheelchair or a commode or a Hoyer lift that I wrote the right note for, and the physician is going to sign off on. Just finding a reliable provider of that and getting to them quickly, and then them also communicating back with you is a huge challenge, because when you're in clinic, you're not paying attention to who are all the providers that are outside around us, who's a good one, who's going to deliver to my patient directly, and who's going to take care of them. You don't really know that. And so if you're not intentional about looking out for what's around in your community, or you move to a new place, you kind of have to start from scratch. And so DME Connected is a great solution to that, because I've seen that problem over the the time period I've been in practice, and
Mhm.
you know who ends up suffering really is the patient, because if
Yeah.
you as a clinician don't feel like you know where to send them to next, then it kind of gets
Mhm.
stuck with you and it just doesn't end up happening. Or you don't speak up about a thing that you think that they might qualify for or be useful because you don't know how to help them take the next step. So now they don't
Mhm.
know that they should maybe consider a hospital bed, for example. So being able to have access to resources in your back pocket is really key as a provider. So I appreciate DME Connected for existing for that purpose, because this is a challenge.
Yeah. Gotcha.
Well, one thing that stood out as you all were speaking is
Mhm.
how you all have, because this goes along with our topic. How is DME Connected and Ask Sammy being innovated? Just the fact that the ease with navigating both platforms, you have created a great experience, because that's where healthcare it's been going for quite some time. It's more
Mhm.
so about that patient experience,
Mhm.
because most of the times there have been fragmentation in care. As a nurse practitioner, that was the greatest issue. It's like I would have to interact with this person, and okay, that part's done, then this piece, and then
Mhm.
that part's done, then this piece. And
Yeah.
DME Connected has done an excellent job just mitigating that by having it be a streamlined process. Is there any more you guys would like to add to that innovative portion? As in, what are some trends you feel like you're about to anticipate, and
Mhm.
just whatever that you feel led to share with this one?
So I'll definitely jump in there because there's one service that we started recently this year in 2025. So if
Hmm.
you go to dmeconnected.com and you're a patient, so keep in mind that most of the time we're working with the physicians and the medical team. And so our team and I got together and said, how can we work with the patients directly? Right? How can we help them? So basically, if you go to dmeconnected.com, there's actually a category where the patients can actually click. They can upload their prescription, right? And then
Mhm.
it will come directly to our team. And then we'll reach out to that physician and say, hey, this patient needs help with X, Y, and Z. This is what's going on, and so forth and so on. And just by us being that middle person, then where we are the ones that's contacting the physician. If they're in network with us already, we already have some type of communication channel within our platform where we can send them a message, right? Or we'll just contact them directly, because what we notice is that patients go to physicians, and some physician may just write them a prescription and leave it up to them and say, here, take care of it, and that's a problem that we've seen. And once again, we're being sensitive to the workflow of the physician, because we know that they're doing a lot of different things and a lot is going on in the office. But once again, you write an order directly to, and I use my mother once again at 68 and say, okay, you qualify for oxygen. Now you got to find your own oxygen provider. Wow, that's overwhelming, right? That's very overwhelming. So now in that
It
particular
is.
case, she can just actually upload that prescription to DME Connected. Of course, give us, the HIPAA, sign off, give us the
Understood.
permission, and
Hmm.
then we'll reach out to that physician and say, hey, XYZ, this is what we know. This is a patient that we work with. This is the things that we need. Just go ahead and place it. And from there, they'll still be able to find someone in that patient neighborhood or whoever's in our network to help take care of that patient. So we're not leaving anyone out, even if they have to go to the doctor. No, if you've got the prescription, just upload it to DME Connected and we'll give you a hand with that. So that's another innovative way that we just started this year as well.
I
Congrats.
can.
That is a good process.
That's a huge innovation, and
It is. It cuts down a lot on
it
just
cuts
like the
down a lot. And I
time.
also, yeah, and I don't think people really recognize this because they don't encounter it until they have to get that script and say, here, get some oxygen.
Mhm,
But like the current process in most places, in order to send off a referral for a DME, is to fax it to
mhm,
somebody
mhm,
and hope that their fax
Yes.
machine works and that they got it and it's legible and
mhm,
that they used it and then they called your patient
mhm.
and that they did what they're supposed to do. So there's a lot of black space in there, like just a dead
Yeah,
space
Correct.
that you don't have any visibility to. And so one of the things that I
exactly.
love about being on the platform is that I have a direct connect to the person who referred the patient. I have all the patient's information that's necessary for me to get in contact with them. And I can shoot them a quick message to be able to say, like, hey, I didn't connect with them. I will connect with them. They decided not to do it. So then now you've got feedback as a clinician about what happened to this referral that I placed out there. Okay, it does have an ending place as a close point. And I can talk about it with my patient next time they come because I'm aware. Right.
Yeah.
As opposed to like having your admin call the DME company. Did you get our order? No, we didn't get your order. Okay, now we got to fax it again. What was that patient again? Like it's just like so, and that's all waiting time for the patient who's expecting to get a device, in a couple of days, and it took a couple of months, and nobody knows where it got left off at. So that in and of itself, of the level of communication that is occurring between both sides of the platform, is an innovation in and of itself.
Yeah, but because definitely before DME connected, the process was tedious, right? And that's some of the things that we see. Because once again, if you're skilled in the arena of finding who to get to, the process of just ordering different things, it's just DME goes so wide and deep, right? The thing that we wanted to do is kind of keep everyone accountable. Right. And the accountability is something that we don't mention as well, too. Right. So from that medical staff placing an order, everything is time stamped in the system. You place the order on Thursday at 2:00. It got directly to one of the suppliers. Okay. Now you have the option to accept it or reject it. Right. So you have the option to review and see what's going on. Do I accept this insurance? Is it self-pay option? Do I have this equipment? If anything is wrong, like what you mentioned, you have a clear, direct communication directly back to the provider that places the order. So what we don't want is the patient to actually go back into the medical office or hospital later and say, no one contacted me and I didn't hear anything. And then everything is on the blame of the supplier. And most of and half the time, the supplier is like, I called 8 times and no one picked up. So it's keeping everyone accountable, because in a situation like that, the physician can have that additional conversation with the patient and say, hey, I placed this order. They reached out to you several times, and let's try and do this again. What's the best way to communicate with you, right? And to make sure that you get what you need. So that's where it's just like a gentle push to keep everyone accountable for what they're doing. Okay.
I'm here. Pardon me. I was
Yes.
just making sure, just seeing if there were any questions for those who are tuning in. I'll continue to be to look out for those questions. Let's see. I do have one. As a provider, usually we do better with you all giving us a real life example with the demonstration. Do you have any stories of actual patient who utilize both access Ask Sammy through DME Connected, and how did that process turn out for them? And of course, I know we can't disclose any type of names. We have to keep it anonymous.
So you're asking on the DME connected end or the Ask Sammy end, right? Because we see so many orders going through the system.
I know you do.
We see so many different.
Yeah, and I know, because you had mentioned earlier, there's quite a bit that have come through, and the feedback is great, but didn't know if there was any particular, there's always that one patient where it stands out, like where them utilizing your platform stands out the most, because of the fact that, like, for those who are tuning in, I'm piggyback on what Dr. Brandy had mentioned, that they do not realize how antiquated the referral system is with the fax. And just wanted to know, was there any particular success stories that you would like to share, or if not even now, we could always follow up again later, like in the newsletter, but just wanted to know in the many that have utilized it, was there any success stories with the senior family?
Well, I can say I've seen several orders go through from some of our partners that goes directly to Ask Sammy, and we on the back end we see some of the communication, what's going on, right? Basically, so I know that, Dr. Brandy's team reached out to this one particular family. It was like, hey, I'm going to speak to her and the family as well too, to make sure that they get
Oh,
this item,
now I
right?
see what you're
And,
saying.
and, and those
Got
are the
it.
things. What I'm saying is that once the order directly gets to the Sammy's team, right, they're reviewing it and they're contacting that patient, right? And not only the patient, but the family as well too. So that communication that's coming directly from Sammy back to the physician is giving them that security to know that, okay, this patient may be a little bit challenged, so I'm gonna take that extra step and speak to the family as well too, right? And then that's what they appreciate, because on that next office visit, then they could always say, oh yeah, I spoke to, maybe it's the daughter or the son
Okay.
or someone else that is just helping to facilitate that order. And I'll leave it up to Dr. Brandy to speak further on that.
Thank you, Courtney, for clarifying that, because then it let
Hmm.
me know exactly
Hmm.
where most of that communication is being had.
Okay, gotcha.
There
And
is another
there's
question. Oh, I'll wait till Dr. Brandy's finished.
Okay.
We do have
I
a
was just
question.
going to add that, the benefit of the platform too is that if there are challenges with being able to connect with the person you referred to, I have a direct connection to the referring partner to be able to quickly say, hey, do you have another person that I should be reaching out to? Sometimes, phone numbers change and things happen. And for the betterment of everybody involved, because the person needs the device, being able to have direct line of communication very quickly and easily is really helpful, because then we're able to actually solve the problem instead of just
Hmm.
not getting an answer to a phone call because we're calling a bad number.
Gotcha.
So I think that that's been the most successful thing in
Hmm.
our working together, is the ability to have easier levels of communication so we can solve the problem for the patient.
Hmm.
Thank you. We have one question for our audience, and is there a cost for providers who use or sign up for DME Connected? Is it a cost
Oh,
to providers?
and that's the great thing. There is no cost associated with using the platform. We basically just go to dmeconnected.health, and that's where the provider will sign up. We'll verify who they are, and then we'll give them their access within 24 hours. Sometimes shorter, but we just like to say up to 24 hours, see who they are. So it's no direct cost directly to them, and there's no cost directly to the patient. Remember, the way how we actually generate revenue is by our network partners, paying a subscription base directly into the system. So we'll be transparent. We let the physicians know, hey, there's no red tape, right? This is HIPAA compliant. Yourself as well as your medical team can use the platform. These vendors and suppliers and therapists that we're working with, we've already vetted them, right? Because, speaking with them, there's an agreement, business associate, there's stuff in place that we put in place to make sure that, hey, that when they're sending their orders, going to someone reliable and someone that we know is going to take care of their patients.
So with that being said, I'm just going to
Mhm.
go ahead and invite everyone who is a
Mhm.
provider to go ahead and
Yeah.
sign up.
Yes.
This is a right now solution for the issues that we have when it comes to enhancing the type of services that we provide for our growing aging adult
Mhm.
community. This is the first time in history that we have a larger aging population
Yes.
than any
Yes.
other population. So this is something that I'm just so appreciative, Courtney, for you just to invite me to facilitate these
Mhm.
webinars, because I'm like, oh my
Mhm.
gosh, like
Mhm.
every topic we cover, I'm like, this has a lot to do with my practice or my
Mhm.
colleagues' practice. So
Mhm.
for those who are tuning in, definitely, if you have any additional questions, reach out to Courtney, reach out to Brandy, sign up for the platforms. Was there anything else that you all would like to add as we get ready to close out?
I'll just pass it along to Dr. Brandy so she can, get her contact information out there as well too.
Yeah, definitely I can do that. One thing I wanted to ask you though, to
Mhm.
explain a little bit further is, we mostly are talking about physicians and NPs who are writing orders for prescriptions,
Mhm.
but is the platform open to other providers who might be dealing with equipment? And I say that because I'm an occupational therapist and my network is full of OTs, and we're often the ones recommending the types of equipment. So is
Mhm.
there any access point for them, or a best case scenario for them to either get their physician physicians on the platform?
So that's a great question. I'm going to tell what we did, right? So when I say part of the medical team, I know I say physicians a lot, but it's anyone that's part of that medical team. So occupational therapists, RT, they can sign up as well too. But here's the cool thing. When they sign up, there's a actual button that says invite internal team members. So this is where you can invite the physicians that you work with that's actually going to be signing off on those actual orders, right? And a link will go to that physician. They add their information directly into the system, their NPI, PICOs, and so forth. So when an order is created, it's being created directly underneath them, right? So this just gives a quick access where the physician now can be part of that team, and the physicians can go ahead and place that order. So an occupational therapist can say, hey, listen, I seen this patient, this is my write-up, this is what the patient needs, and send it over to the physician because they're part of your internal team. And then the physician can just go ahead and place that order directly to whoever they want to send it to. So that's a feature that's always been there at the very beginning.
Wow,
Yeah.
this has been such an informative talk. Like we've explored not only the innovative solutions that are shaping the future of healthcare, but also just the ways we go about with helping those who are aging in place, from the role of durable medical equipment and the power of technology-driven platforms like DME Connected and Axami. It's very clear that accessibility, but I have to add one more word that Courtney said, accountability and efficiency are critical in supporting our aging population. So again, just grateful to know that platforms such as DME Connected exist to bridge this gap. If you are a provider, I encourage you to explore how integrating these tools into your practice can enhance patient outcomes and streamline the care process for your senior population, as well as older patients as well.
Yeah.
Last, if for caregivers and seniors, if you or your loved one are navigating the aging in place journey, these solutions can provide greater independence and a peace of mind. As we talked about how when you could prepare by having these plans in advance. So definitely be sure to visit dmeconnected.com, dmeconnected.com. There's a, Courtney, remind me, there's a provider tab, and isn't there a tab for patients as well?
That is correct.
Okay.
There's tabs in there for everyone, right? There's
Everybody.
a provider tab in there.
Yes.
There's a tab in there for suppliers and service providers that want to be part of the network, and then there's a tab in there for patients as well too. So we're just trying to close that circle of care loop to make sure that everyone is being taken care of.
Absolutely. And then Dr. Brandy, also they can visit Axami website. Now, if they go to your website, does it link also back to DME Connected? I know we can go on DME Connected to access Axami, but does it work vice versa?
Yeah, so right now it does not do that directly for your family caregivers, but what it will do is as we add our occupational therapists to our network, they'll be able to have access to sign up for DME Connected to use it from within the platform and be connected that way. And then, I think people should be connected to more things, not less. So if you know that you want to use Ask Sammy service, just go to DME Connected, because then you not only are getting Ask Sammy, but you're also getting all of the providers of the DME equipment that's covered by insurance, like your oxygen and your hospital beds. And so you have one platform to work from to access so much. So that's the best way to get in contact.
Gotcha.
Again, just to reinforce what Dr. Brandy said, DME Connected really works as a huge hub to access a variety of different services, like providers. I also have to mention about that Therapy Connected, because I'm huge when it comes to mental health.
Yes.
Courtney,
yes.
can you just give us a quick spill about Therapy Connected before we go?
So Therapy Connected is our sister company. Basically, it's directly on the DME Connected platform. So if a physician sees a patient and they have any behavioral, mental health, or drug or substance abuse challenges, then they can also find a resource to a therapist or a drug and substance abuse center directly within DME Connected as well too. So it's not only linking you with medical equipment, it's linking you with resources for your patient. And that's one of the things that we want to mention. Even non-clinical services, it's even on our platform as well too, right? So we want to make sure that the patients are being taken care of, and we're that resource hub that physician need to be a part of.
Thank you. And thank you, everyone,
Okay.
for tuning in. If we value your insights as well as your experiences. So if you have any additional questions, feel free to reach out to Courtney through DME Connected on LinkedIn. Also, stay tuned for the next session or webinar sessions through our newsletter. And last but not least, special thanks to the speakers once again, Courtney and Dr. Brandy Archie, for sharing your expertise. And you all have a great day, and tune in for the next collaborative webinar.
All right. Thank you.
Thank
Thanks
you.
so much.